This is a model of an artilleryman's sword during the Civil War. This is the back room of the John Brown Museum State Historic Site, i.e. in the Adair cabin. And this is the area where slaves were kept before they were moved on the Underground Railroad. It is also the John Brown, really the dedicated John Brown room of the museum. This is the original. We have the same sword right here. And we have the reproduction because we don't want to handle the original. Pottawatomie Massacre is one of the most controversial actions that John Brown ever took. The reality of it is, though, it is quite complex, even though it seems like it's very simple. What had happened leading up to the Pottawatomie Massacre was that pro-slavery forces had made very real threats and had committed acts of violence against free state settlers and abolitionists in the area. And most people who are abolitionists, especially peaceful abolitionists, they deigned to actually do anything about it. Now, of course, John Brown was all about shoe leather into actions, and he decided to do something about it. Now, leading up to it, what had happened was that pro-slavery forces had come up from Georgia under the command of Jefferson Buford, around 100 of these men, and they had planned with pro-slavery people in the area to go in and ride through Pottawatomie, pull all of the Free State men out who were voting age, kill them or drive them away, then ride down Pottawatomie Creek, and then kill those men or ride them out of town. Now, anyone else would have been arming themselves, scrolling themselves up in their house, but you're not John Brown, are you? So they weren't John Brown. So what happened was that John Brown went into their camp. And he was a surveyor by trade. And being a surveyor by trade, he could go in undercover, because this is before people knew what people looked like. And so he rode with a wagon and his surveying equipment right into the middle of the camp, and he set up his surveying equipment, and he looked right through the lens of that viewfinder, and he looked over to his left and says, "What are you boys here for?" And they're like, "You know what we're going to do? We're going to get that John Brown, and we're going to go into Pottawatomie. We're going to shoot all of the Free State men, and we're going to ride around Pottawatomie Creek, and then we're going to get the Browns," bragging all over the place about that. John Brown said, "Well, that's wonderful." Well, he didn't say that, but he would think that. He would say something to that effect. "How do you know where all these people live? And how do you know where to find all these people?" He says, "Well, we've got these people down in Shermanville, now modern day Lane, who have told us who they are." "Well, who are they?" he asked. And they told him. He said, "Well, good luck with that, gentlemen." Well, words to that effect. Got in his wagon, and then he went on the property of the 5 men who were giving information and kind of showing leadership in this effort. These pro-slavery men came out, and they said, and he looked him through his viewfinder again. He says, "Shame about those Browns over there. What do you plan to do about those Browns over there?" And they said, "Well, here's what we're going to do. Next Wednesday, we're going to go over there. We're going to have these pro-slavery men ride through, but what we're going to do is we're going to ride over to his house, and we're going to set the cabins on fire. When the Browns all come out, we're going to kill them." Now, Brown said, "Good luck with that," in his own way. And then what he did was, he said, and to quote John Brown, he concluded that they had committed murder in their hearts. Now, there were other incidents where the same group of men and the pro-slavery guerrillas had What they had done was they had made death threats against Free State men in the area, and it multiplied to the point where Brown felt that something had to be done. Now, there is, of course, the Lawrence, where there was a pro-slavery raid on Lawrence. John Brown went up there to try to defend Lawrence and found out the peaceful abolitionists had done virtually nothing to defend the town, and that upset him. But that wasn't really the cause. The real cause was this situation where he knew an attack was coming. So what he did was he gathered his men, and his men had broadswords. Actually, these are artillery swords. And what they were is they were issued to artillerymen to defend against cavalrymen who were charging their positions. And he went out and with a list in hand of the 5 people who were planning on attacking the pro-slavery men, Free State men, John Brown's family. And what he did was he had his men pull those men out of their cabins and had killed them with artillery sword. With the John Brown Jr. stated it inculcated a restraining fear on the pro-slavery men in the area, and they fled the area, which is exactly what John Brown had in mind. For John Brown was violent. There's no getting around it, but he was surgically violent. He was only violent when he felt that it would have a positive effect on the abolitionist cause, and only for people who had made terroristic threats against Free State men.